So we were talking about the test in the previous video. That's where we ended up with the syllabus. This will be our last video, hopefully, concerning the syllabus. And these tests, we said, are going to be in person for the most part. And these in-person tests, you need to show up at 8 o'clock on the day that they're scheduled. So at 8 o'clock, you should be ready to go. If you are later than 8 o'clock, if you're later than 8 o'clock, 20% deduction will be taken off of your grade. So, it can be I had to take my kids to school, or I had a flat tire this morning, or my alarm went off. It doesn't really matter. If you are later than 8 o'clock, a 20% grade, a deduction of the grade will happen. Now, keep that in mind, right? Because we only have 4 tests, so that means I'm only really requesting you to be there at 8 o'clock on the dot at least 4 days of the semester. So the other days, if you're a couple of minutes late, 8:02, 8:05, and you're rolling into lecture, then, well, that's okay, right? We all have those mornings where we're kind of lagging behind. But for 4 days out of the semester, I'm asking you to be there at 8 o'clock, ready to go with the test. If you show up later than 8:30, I will not give you the test at all. You get a 0 on that test. You can give me the sob stories and the boo-hoo stories later on. It doesn't really matter. I'll probably nod my head and say I'm sorry, but you still get a 0 on the test. Disability services, religious holidays, all of those you can read through. I don't need to baby you through those sections. Student email, hopefully you know how to check it at this point. Tobacco policy, conduct, safety, academic honesty, all of those you can view yourself. Finally, on the last page of the syllabus, these are the semester due dates or the module due dates that are going to be required throughout the semester itself. We keep saying this material is broken down into 4 modules. The first module focuses on carbohydrates, and if you look at the way that this module block is broken up, you'll see module 1 carbohydrates due date this semester is February the 4th. So again, take a look at the current version of the syllabus. Make sure that you're looking at the current version of the syllabus. Make sure that you get the correct due date for these modules. They'll also be posted as an announcement on Blackboard as well. The reading assignment, if you have the 7th edition, I give you those pages. If you have an older edition like the 6th edition, I give you those pages. I'm not going to go back and do the 5th and the 4th and the 3rd and the 2nd and the 1st edition textbooks. So I'll only do the current and the one previous. If you've got any kind of older textbook than 2 editions previously or prior, then I would just encourage you to kind of find it yourself. You're going to be able to find it without a problem. I mean, there's going to be a chapter called carbohydrates in your text, right? So that's the chapter that we're going to be reading. So the reading assignments for the current edition and the one previous edition will be listed for you. The block will also break down the assignments, so you're seeing there are 4 assignments associated with the carbohydrates through mastering chemistry. There are 4 quizzes that are on Blackboard for you to finish, and then of course we have the test on carbohydrates here at the end. So that's kind of the stages that I would go in as far as completion goes. Do the 4 assignments first, make sure you understand the questions in the type of material that's going to be presented. Then migrate to the quizzes, do the quizzes, make sure that you feel okay with those, and if you feel okay with the assignments and the quizzes, that probably means you're okay with the test. And the test will be given on the due date. So that means the due date here is February the 4th. So you will see the test scheduled for February the 4th. So that's the way these things will be structured. Now with the block, you also have labs as well, and the labs are going to be due on the module due date. So with the carbohydrates, you will see 2 labs that are required, and you have a whole month to work on these 2 labs. And these 2 labs in this semester focuses on identification of a carbohydrate, an unknown carbohydrate. So you will use some qualitative and quantitative tests to figure out what kind of carbohydrate you're given. And then the other one is analysis of reducing sugars and metal analysis in breakfast cereals. So you will have a cereal sample that you will crush up, you will extract the carbohydrates from it, test to see how much carbohydrate is there, and then you will run this sample on maybe an atomic absorption instrument to figure out how much metal is in that sample as well. So, very often you'll see these cereal labels that will say, now with more iron or now with more calcium. Well, you're going to be measuring the iron and calcium content and other various metals in these samples. Okay, so the next module is going to be amino acids and proteins. That's due about another month after the carbohydrates. So you'll have another month to do 4 more assignments through Mastering Chemistry, 3 more quizzes on Blackboard, and of course the test on the last day of the module date. Then down below you'll see the laboratories associated with that block as well. There's again 2 of those. One of them focuses on studying amino acids using UV-Vis. So some of these amino acids pick up UV-Vis absorbance. You'll be monitoring that UV-Vis absorbance and you'll be measuring it using UV-Vis spectrometry. Number 2 is the total nitrogen in milk using the ketol method. So nitrogen is referring to the protein content because all amino acids make up proteins. All amino acids, amino, they have an NH2 group. That means they all have nitrogen. So what we're doing with the ketol is that we're looking at the total nitrogen value in a sample, and we're choosing milk because the beautiful colors that are associated with the method itself. It's very, very nice, very beautiful. I think that you'll like the ketol method when you'll do them. Some of these labs that you might work for in the future will have automated ketol extraction methods and instrumentation. We're going to be doing it by hand from scratch. So it takes a little bit of extra work for us, and we can just do really 1 sample at a time, but you're going to kind of see how neat the ketol method actually is. The next one, module-wise, is lipids. These are fats. Due date is a month later. Those have 3 assignments to them, 3 quizzes to them, and of course a test. And then there's 2 labs for that one. Oxalate extraction and the percent of fat in hamburger versus potato chips. So we're going to basically take some hamburger meat, extract the fat, then we're going to take the potato chips and extract the fat, and we're going to see maybe which one has a higher fat content. So we're going to be using the oxalate method in order to do that. So again, food related lab, something that you're familiar with, and something that maybe you could take an interest in. So now you've worked with milk, and you've worked with cereal, and you've worked with hamburger, and you've worked with potato chips. So you've got your lunch and your breakfast and your dinner all provided, right? And then the next one is the synthesis of biodiesel. So we're going to learn how to make biodiesel from vegetable oil. This biodiesel can be turned around and used in a car that runs off of a diesel engine, and it can get you to work or to school back and forth. So we're going to take another food item, vegetable oil, and we're going to convert it over into diesel gasoline kind of, and we'll walk you through the process of how to do that. Very, very simple lab, very easy lab, as long as you're taking your time and being careful. And then finally we end up with our module 4 of nucleic acids, and nucleic acids are really DNA. So that's what we're going to be focused on with that module. There's 4 assignments with that module, there's 2 quizzes with that module, and there's a test, of course, with that module. There's only 1 lab associated with it, and that lab is DNA isolation, amplification, and comparison. So you will be taking a cheek swab of your mouth, and you will be extracting the DNA from that sample. You will be amplifying the DNA, which basically means cloning it, and then you'll take this mass quantity of DNA and you'll put it into an electrophoresis chamber, and you'll begin to separate the fragmentation pattern and comparing it to somebody else's. So that's how we end the semester. However, like we said before in the previous page of the syllabus, there is a water analysis. So you're probably wondering, oh wow, 10 labs? I can't wait. 10 labs, that's all that we've got to do for a whole semester. But the water study is sandwiched in between that as well. So the water study will begin around February. And once the water study begins, you will start working on the water samples as well as the labs in this course. So, but that's the reason there's only 10 labs listed, because the water study is going to come in and eat away at the remaining time. So even though there's only 10, don't get excited, because you'll still probably be pushed a little bit to get things done on time, to make sure that you're working on pace, that you're getting these assignments out, that you're doing these tests out. And that means it's very important for you to show up on time for the lab. It's very important for you to be prepared for the lab. It's very important for you not to waste time while you're in the lab and surf the internet and check your email and do whatever you want to do. You've got to be productive in order to get everything completed. Now, the very last block on the last page is going to say, do you have some extra time? Maybe you do. And if you do, I'm going to give you an extra credit opportunity, because that means that you've worked hard, you've gotten your labs completed, and you're looking for something else to do maybe that you can get some extra credit with. The extra credit will come in the form of extra labs, and there's 2 extra labs here that I would like for you to look at. One of them is analysis of wine, and the other one is the fermentation and analysis of root beer. So root beer, you'll be making your own root beer, fermenting your own root beer. In the wine, you'll be doing some quality test on wine samples and looking at the acids in wine and maybe looking at some metal content and anion content in wine. If you tackle one of these labs and you get a greater than a 75 on it, then your 8-point grading scale goes to a 9-point grading scale. And if you do both of these labs and you get higher than a 75 on it, your 8-point scale goes to a 10-point scale. So now you're looking at a 90, 80, 70, 60 for your A, B, C, D cutoff ranges. So if they're there, if you've got the time, if you feel that you can tackle these labs without a problem and do them, then my advice is to attempt them. You can need a 75 on them or higher. That means you need to do quality work. You need to make sure everything is there when you turn in the lab book. And if you do well on these labs, then you will get extra credit as far as the cumulative averages go at the very end. So it widens up the grading scale for you if you can get these finished. The disclaimer, note that at any time the syllabus can change if I feel fit to change it. The only thing I have to do is make an announcement to let everybody know about it. So have fun this semester. This is biochemistry. I will say, however, that I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a biologist, I'm a chemist. So we will be looking at the chemistry aspect of these things. We will not be looking that much at biological aspects of the carbohydrates or lipids or proteins or amino acids. We do talk about them a little bit, but we're going to be looking at the structure and the reactivity of these molecules for the most part. So good luck this semester. Good luck with the course. I wish you nothing but the best. And hopefully, at the end of this semester, this will be the last organic that you'll have to complete, and it will be some of the last videos that you have to watch in the course.